Every day, people hide how they truly feel, not because they don't care, but because they're scared. Scared of getting hurt again, scared of being seen too clearly, scared of loving someone who might not love them back. But if you learn to see the signs, you'll realize their heart may already belong to you, even if their mouth stays silent. In this video, you'll learn 8 emotional signs that their heart is yours, even if they're afraid to show it. Pay close attention. Most people miss these signs and walk away from real love. Let's begin. 1. They always notice the smallest things about you. They don't ask twice. They don't need reminders. You mentioned something once, and somehow it sticks with them. They remember the song you said reminds you of childhood, the way you always organize your desk, the exact way you like your tea, not too sweet, not too strong, even the random little details you didn't think anyone would notice. They don't try to memorize you like it's homework. They just do. Because when someone's heart is quietly involved, their mind naturally holds on to the pieces of you. You become part of their inner world, not through big moments, but through fragments, tiny pieces that, when stitched together, reveal just how much you matter to them. And what's powerful is, they don't even realize they're doing it. It's automatic. Because you're not just another person in their life. You've become someone their mind chooses to hold on to. Most people forget. They listen to respond. They remember what's useful. But this kind of remembering is emotional. It's intimate. It's a quiet way of saying, you matter to me, even the parts of you the world overlooks. If someone consistently remembers the smallest things about you, don't brush it off as coincidence. It's not politeness. It's not curiosity. It's care. Real, silent, steady care. 2. They get quiet when you talk about other people. They won't ask questions. They won't interrupt you. They'll nod, maybe smile faintly, but it's not the same smile as before. You'll feel the shift. Their voice softens. Their words become fewer. The warmth that was there a moment ago cools, quietly and quickly. All you did was mention someone else, a friend, a coworker, someone new in your life. And suddenly, the light in their eyes dims, not because they're angry, not because they're possessive, but because their heart reacted before their mind could hide it. Inside, thoughts are racing. Are you close with them? Do you smile at them the way you smile at me? Are they becoming your person instead of me? They won't say any of this because they don't want to seem insecure. They don't want to make it awkward, so they go silent and hope you won't notice. But silence is a reaction. It's a protective wall they build when emotions start flooding in too fast. And it's not about jealousy, it's about fear. Fear that they're already more invested than they should be. Fear that someone else might replace them before they've even had the chance to fully show how much they care. That quiet shift in energy, that pause, that stillness, it's not emptiness. It's overflowing emotion, held in place by restraint. And if you really pay attention, you'll see that behind their silence is a heart whispering, please don't forget about me. 3. They check in, even without a reason. They don't always have something important to say. They're not checking in because there's a problem. They just feel something. Maybe a shift in your tone, your silence, or the way you responded earlier. It might have been just a short reply, or the fact that you didn't send a message like you usually do. But to them, that tiny difference matters. Their heart is tuned in to your emotional state, even if you haven't said a word. They'll send a message like, hey, just checking on you, or you crossed my mind today. To most people, it seems casual, But to them, it's a way of saying, I care. I feel something shifted. Are you okay? They don't need a reason. They don't need drama. They're not fishing for attention or trying to be noticed. They simply want to know that you're doing okay, because your well-being quietly affects theirs. And if you respond with something heavy, they don't run. They listen. They support. If you say you're fine, they don't always push. But they still stay close, just in case. Their concern isn't loud, but it's consistent. It's not the words that matter most. It's the intention behind them. They're checking in not just because they miss you. They're checking in because they feel you. And no one does that unless their heart is already deeply involved. That kind of silent awareness is rare. And if you ever receive it, don't ignore it. It's not just kindness. It's quiet love trying to reach you without saying too much. 4. They react strongly to little things you do. They won't slam a door. They won't raise their voice. They won't say, "You hurt me." But if you're paying attention, you'll feel the shift. It might start the day you cancel a plan they were secretly counting on. The day you read their message and forget to respond. The moment your tone changes ever so slightly. Not rude, not cold, just different. You'll see it in how their light dims, how their laughter fades a second too soon, how their responses become shorter, more delayed, more distant, as if they're trying to untangle themselves before they get too deep. To you, it might have been nothing, just a busy day, a missed text, a forgotten detail, but to them, it was weight, it was disappointment, it was a quiet, emotional bruise. Because when someone cares deeply, small things cut like big ones. They won't tell you how long they waited for that message. They won't admit how often they checked their phone, hoping your name would pop up. They won't explain how that plan you cancelled was the one thing they'd been holding on to all week. Because saying all that feels like too much, feels like risking their pride, feels like handing you proof of how much power you really have over their heart. So instead, it slips out sideways, through dry sarcasm, through a slightly off joke that lands heavier than they meant, through a comment like, "Didn't know you still remembered me." That sounds playful, but isn't. Or they vanish for a little while, not to punish you, not to manipulate, but to recenter themselves, to feel like they matter to themselves again. Because for a second, they felt like they didn't matter to you. They might act busy, say they've just been tired. But you'll notice the change. The energy that used to lean toward you now stands still. The effort that used to be automatic is now cautious, careful, calculated. Why? Because they've already let you in. And letting someone in means giving them the power to hurt you in quiet ways. Ways you might not even notice. You see, when someone has real feelings for you, nothing is just small. A shift in your attention feels like a shift in their security. And even if you didn't mean to cause it, it opens up all their fears. What if I care more than they do? What if I'm just convenient? What if they're pulling away, and I'm the only one holding on? So they retreat, not to teach you a lesson, but to protect the part of themselves that's already tied to you. They tell themselves not to care. They promise themselves they won't get that invested again. But they've already crossed that line, and the harder they try to hide it, the more obvious it becomes. Because you only react like that when someone matters. You only feel disappointment that deeply when you were secretly hoping for something more. You only get quiet like that when you're afraid your heart is speaking too loudly. So if you ever notice someone changing because of something small you did, don't just brush it off. Don't write it off as drama or moodiness. Pause. Look a little deeper. There's a good chance that shift in their energy isn't about the missed message. It's about what the message meant. It meant distance. It meant uncertainty. It meant they weren't sure where they stood with you anymore. And instead of saying, "I'm scared I'm losing you," they pull away just enough to stop the bleeding. So next time someone reacts like this, know this. You've touched something real in them, and the reaction you're seeing isn't anger. It's love, unspoken and afraid. It's their heart saying, "I care more than I know how to say," and that scares me. 5. Their body language gives them away. They might say everything is fine. They might even act like your presence doesn't affect them at all, but their body tells the truth, always. And if you know how to look, you'll see it. You'll see it in the way they shift when you enter the room. A subtle movement, a quiet adjustment, like their whole body just aligned to your presence. It's not something they think about. It's instinctual. Their posture opens up. Their arms drop to their sides. Their shoulders relax, not in laziness, but in comfort. They lean toward you without meaning to. Their feet angle in your direction, even if the rest of them stays still. Their breathing softens, slows. Not because they're tired, but because you bring them ease. Their eyes don't dart around the room when you talk. They settle. They hold your gaze longer than they do with anyone else. And when they look away, it's not out of boredom. It's because something in your presence makes them feel exposed. They mirror you too, without thinking. You cross your legs, they do the same. You laugh softly, they smile in sync. You shift in your chair, and a few seconds later, so do they. It's not mimicry, it's emotional resonance. Their body is responding to your energy like it's found a rhythm it didn't even know it was missing. And if you suddenly walk into the space, unannounced, watch their reaction. There's often a flash in their eyes before they mask it. A brief moment where their whole expression lights up, then quickly settles back into something more appropriate. They might try to act like they didn't notice you right away, but their body already celebrated your arrival. They'll try to stay composed, but you'll catch the signs. How they fidget more when they're close to you. How they fix their collar, brush their hair back, straighten their shirt, adjust something that doesn't really need fixing. It's not vanity, it's vulnerability. Your presence makes them self-aware in a way that's rare, because suddenly, how they look, how they sound, how they show up, it matters. To them, you matter. And that awareness shows up as nervous energy trying to pass as casual behavior. Even in groups, even in crowds, you'll notice they gravitate toward you. They'll find the seat closest to yours. They'll laugh a little louder at your jokes. They'll time their steps so you're walking side by side. They won't say, "I want to be near you," but their body will keep choosing it again and again. And when the conversation ends, they don't rush to leave. They pause, they linger, just long enough to create a moment, a gap that says, "I don't really want this to be over yet." Their body stays open when you talk, not closed off. They tilt their head slightly, a signal of interest and care. They raise their eyebrows when you speak, a sign they're engaged, not just hearing, but feeling what you're saying. And if you compliment them, watch how they react. They might look down, smile softly, touch their face, their neck, scratch their arm. These aren't awkward gestures. They're the body's way of managing the emotional heat that comes with feeling seen. Because that's what's really happening. They feel seen by you, and their body can't help but respond to that. They might be quiet, they might be emotionally guarded, but their body already knows what their mind is afraid to admit. That you make them feel safe, that you make them feel connected, that something about your presence softens their defenses in a way no one else does. So if you ever wonder how someone feels, stop trying to read their words. Start watching their presence. Because real emotion doesn't always come through what someone says. It comes through what they can't hide, even when they're trying to. Love doesn't always confess itself with grand gestures. Sometimes it shifts a foot closer, tilts a head in your direction, softens a voice when you speak, and hopes you'll notice, even if they're still too scared to say it. 6. They get protective over you. You may never hear them say, "I'm protecting you," but you'll feel it in ways that don't need words. Their protectiveness doesn't come with big speeches or heroic gestures. It doesn't draw attention. It doesn't ask for thanks. It just happens. It shows up in the way they listen, not just with their ears, but with their entire presence. You mention someone was rude to you, and their whole demeanor shifts. Their eyes narrow slightly. Their posture tightens. They don't explode. They don't overreact. But they notice. They file it away. Because in that moment, your discomfort became theirs. You don't need to explain every detail. You don't need to ask for help. They're already paying attention to things you haven't even fully processed yet. They hear what you're not saying. They feel what you're holding back. You say you're tired. They show up with something warm to eat. You mention a rough meeting, and later they check in just to ask how it went. You casually say you're dreading a task, and the next thing you know, they've offered to handle it for you or made it easier in some small way. They won't frame it as protecting you. They'll say, "It's no big deal," or "I just thought you'd appreciate it." But it is a big deal, because nobody goes out of their way like that for someone they don't deeply care about. Watch how they instinctively step between you and discomfort, how they position themselves slightly closer to you when you feel out of place, how they pick up on tones in other people's voices that feel off. And suddenly, they're alert, not dramatic, not controlling, just quietly ready to make sure you're safe, emotionally and otherwise. They're not trying to fix you. They're not trying to control your life. They're just there, easing pressure you didn't ask them to touch, carrying weight you didn't ask them to lift, because they can feel when your peace is disturbed, and that alone is enough for them to act. This isn't the kind of protectiveness that shows off. It's the kind that works in silence. It's walking you to your car without making it awkward. It's texting, "Let me know you got home safe," and pretending it's casual. It's being the one who stays calm when you break down, who shows up without being called, who handles what they can just to lighten the load for you. Not because it's convenient, but because they can't stand to see you carry everything alone. They don't want recognition. They don't want praise. They just want you, safe, calm, okay. That's their reward. And when you ask why they did something for you, they'll probably smile and say something simple like, "Because I care," or "Because you matter." But underneath those small words is a flood of emotion they haven't dared to say out loud yet. What they really mean is, "I've already tied part of my heart to yours. Your pain feels like mine now. When you hurt, I feel it too, and I'll do whatever I can to make it easier." That's what real love looks like before it's confessed. It's protection without possession, support without expectation, presence without pressure. It's a deep emotional investment in your peace, even if they never say the words. So, if someone protects you like that, not loudly, not forcefully, but gently, instinctively, and without ever making you feel weak, understand this: you're not just being looked after, you're being loved. The kind of love that doesn't need to be declared, because it's already being lived, in every quiet action that says, "I've got you." 7. They're nervous around you, but calm around everyone else. They're the kind of person who walks into any room with ease. They're confident, smooth, collected, the type others naturally gravitate toward. They know how to command attention without forcing it. They tell stories effortlessly, joke without trying too hard, hold eye contact like it's second nature. Everyone sees them as the one who's always in control, unshakable, steady, sure. But then they're around you, and suddenly all that polish starts to fade, not in a dramatic way, but in small, revealing cracks. They try to stay the same. They really do. They still smile, still talk, still lean into the conversation. But if you look closely, you'll notice the tension under the surface. Their words don't come out as smoothly. They stumble or repeat themselves. They give a longer answer than necessary, as if they're buying time to keep your attention just a little longer. They laugh too quickly. Their smile lingers too long or disappears too fast. They glance away, then look back, unsure if they've revealed too much just by the way they looked at you. You'll catch them fidgeting with their sleeve, their hands, their phone. They check the time for no reason. They drink water when they're not thirsty. They shift in their seat like they're trying to settle nerves that just won't sit still. It's not awkwardness. It's not a lack of confidence. It's emotional exposure. Because something about you unsettles them, not in a bad way, but in a way that matters. You make them feel seen. You strip away the part of them that usually stays composed. And beneath that is someone who's not used to feeling this way, someone who's not used to wanting to be seen and simultaneously terrified of it. They want to impress you. They want to seem calm, clever, attractive, interesting. They want you to look at them and feel what they're feeling. But they also don't want to appear needy. They don't want you to know how much you affect them, so they overcorrect. They try to be cooler than usual, more casual, more whatever. And that's exactly when the nervousness takes over. Inside their head, it's noisy. Was that funny enough? Did I sound weird just now? Should I have said that? Should I have said less? They replay moments that just happened seconds ago, overanalyzing everything, trying to read your reaction, not because they lack self-esteem, but because your opinion matters more than they ever expected it to. So you might notice them pull back. Get quiet after a burst of energy. Act distracted, then suddenly hyper-focused on you again. They're not being inconsistent, they're overwhelmed by emotion, by presence, by the intensity of caring too much too soon. They'll act like it's nothing if you bring it up. Say something like, "Me? Nervous? Never." They'll smile through it, but their voice might crack just slightly. Their eyes will tell a different story, one that flickers between "please don't notice" and "please tell me you feel it too." They're not scared of you. They're scared of what they feel around you, of what you might mean to them, of what it would cost to fully open up. Because around everyone else, they wear armor effortlessly, but around you, it slips. And that vulnerability, that emotional tremble beneath the surface, that's not weakness. That's the most honest version of love making itself known, before they've even found the courage to say it out loud. So if you ever catch someone who is usually calm, suddenly fumbling to keep their cool around you, don't dismiss it. Don't laugh it off. That nervous energy, that's their heart speaking. That's their soul trying to hold it together while quietly saying, "You matter more than I'm ready to admit, more than I know how to handle." That kind of nervousness doesn't show up for just anyone. It only arrives when real feelings enter the room. And sometimes, love doesn't knock with confidence. Sometimes it trembles on the doorstep, hoping you'll open the door first. 8. They stay even when you push them away. You start to pull away. You don't do it all at once. You just slowly shrink your presence. A little less warmth in your tone. A few extra hours before you reply. Your energy goes quiet, withdrawn, cold. Not because you've stopped caring, but because a part of you is scared. Scared to be too vulnerable. Scared to be disappointed again. Scared that if someone truly sees you, the real you, they'll leave. So you test them without even meaning to. You want to know, will they still care if you're not easy to love right now? Will they still show up when you don't make it comfortable or clear? Will they stay, even when you don't say what you need? Most people would walk away. They'd take the silence as a sign to exit. They'd assume your coldness means disinterest. They'd get tired of guessing, tired of showing up when it feels one-sided. But not this person. They don't get defensive. They don't guilt you. They don't bombard you with questions or pressure you for answers. They stay. Not loudly, not desperately, but steadily. They don't force a conversation, but they check in. They don't demand affection, but they leave space for it to return. They don't try to fix what you're not ready to explain, but they make it clear. I'm here when you are. They're not clinging. They're not waiting around because they don't have options. They choose to stay because they feel something real. And real love doesn't walk away just because the light dims. They may not fully understand why you're retreating. They may not know the stories behind your walls, but they sense the weight of what you're carrying. They recognize that your silence doesn't mean apathy. It means pain. And instead of trying to break the door down, they wait outside with patience, with quiet loyalty, with the kind of presence that asks for nothing and gives everything. They feel your distance, and yes, it hurts. It hurts not to be let in. It hurts not to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, if you're okay. But they don't punish you for protecting yourself. They understand not every heart is ready to open on command. So they stay, not because it's easy, but because their love isn't based on convenience. It's based on devotion. They're not here for the highlight reel. They're here for the hard days, the quiet nights, the parts of you no one else sticks around for. And even when you're cold, even when you're distant, even when every part of you is screaming, don't get too close. They lean in, gently, respectfully, silently. They don't need to be thanked. They don't need a timeline. They don't need a guarantee. They just want you to know you're not alone in this. This is what Stoic love looks like. Not performative, not dramatic, not chasing validation. Just there, solid, unmoving, committed, even when you're not ready to receive it. And if you've ever had someone like that in your life, someone who didn't disappear when you made it hard to love you, someone who stayed, not because you asked them to, but because their heart already decided, then hold on to them, because that kind of love doesn't come around often, and when it does, it doesn't need loud declarations or big emotional scenes. It just needs to be seen. Because the one who stays, when you've given them every reason to leave, is the one who's already yours, even if you haven't found the words to say it back yet. Final message. Real love rarely walks in with a spotlight. It doesn't show up dressed in perfection or timed like a movie scene. It's not always loud or bold or obvious. It often arrives in the quiet, in the pauses between words, in the glances that linger a little too long, in the actions that ask for nothing in return. It hides in hesitation, in the way they almost say something, then stop themselves. Not because it's not true, but because it's too true. And they're terrified that saying it out loud might change everything. It hides in silence, in the kind of silence that's not cold, but careful. Because when someone cares deeply, they don't always know how to say the right thing. So they say less, hoping their presence speaks for them. It hides in small gestures that look ordinary to everyone else, but mean everything to you. That morning message you didn't expect. The way they remember your weird coffee order. The quiet way they hold space for you when you're too tired to speak. It's in the way they check on you without a reason. The way they pick up on your tone, your energy, your shift in mood. Even when you say, "I'm fine." It's in the way they give you space when you need it, but never really leave. It's not performative. It's not theatrical. It's not desperate for attention. It's steady. It's patient. It's present. Real love won't always ask to be seen. It won't always make declarations. Sometimes it just waits, quietly, hoping you'll feel it. And here's the hardest truth. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. You'll miss the way they made sure you ate when you didn't feel like it. The way they texted, just checking in when you disappeared. The way they adjusted to your mood without making it about them. You'll think, they're just being kind. They're just a good friend. If they really loved me, wouldn't they say it? But real love doesn't always come wrapped in clarity. Sometimes it comes in mystery, in gestures that feel small until you lose them, in presence that feels normal until it's gone. It doesn't always scream, "I choose you." Sometimes it whispers, "I'm still here. I notice you. You matter to me more than you realize." So before you assume they don't care, before you walk away because it wasn't loud enough, dramatic enough, easy enough, ask yourself, who has shown up for you, consistently, quietly, when it mattered? Who has held space for your mess without asking for anything back? Who has given you room to fall apart and stayed anyway? Because that's the rarest kind of love. The kind that doesn't demand. The kind that doesn't chase. The kind that doesn't need to perform. It just exists. It just remains. It just loves you anyway. And if you walk away too soon, if you let the quiet make you think it's not real, you might leave behind the kind of love that most people never find. The kind that wasn't waiting to be convinced. The kind that had already chosen you, long before you even knew how to receive it. If you're still here, that says something powerful about you. You're not just a viewer, you're a feeler. You're someone who sees beyond the surface. Someone who doesn't settle for noise, distractions, or shallow answers. You're here because you recognize something real, even when it whispers instead of shouts. This video didn't rely on drama. There were no over-the-top declarations, no fireworks, and that's exactly the point. Because real love, the deep, steady kind, doesn't perform. It doesn't chase attention. It doesn't need to be loud to be felt. It lives in the quiet corners of daily life. In the way someone listens to you without interrupting. In the way they remember your favorite things without asking. In the way they check in when the world goes silent. In the way they stay, even when you pull away. And if even one of these signs made your heart pause, if someone's face flashed in your mind, if you realized you've either felt this love or missed it before, then take a moment right now and comment, "I see the signs." Not just for yourself, but for everyone else who needs to know they're not alone. Because there's a world full of people walking past real love every day, too busy, too guarded, too distracted to recognize what's right in front of them. And every time you share this message, you help someone slow down. You help someone see what they might be about to lose. You help someone stop confusing quiet with empty. Like this video if it spoke to you. Subscribe if you haven't already. This space is for you. A space where emotion is not weakness, where caring isn't something to be ashamed of, where we stop guessing and start understanding. Share this with someone who needs it. Maybe the one who's been loving you silently. Maybe the one you almost walked away from. Or maybe someone who just needs to know that their quiet love hasn't gone unnoticed. Because when we normalize emotional honesty, when we stop glamorizing chaos and start honoring presence, we make room for love that lasts. This isn't a trend, it's a movement for people who feel deeply, love quietly, and stand steadily, for people like you. So let's keep growing this together. One video, one truth, one soul finally seen. You saw the signs, now let someone else see them too.